In the Week in Review from the Ingraham Angle segment tonight, lots to talk about with Miss Laura, who's celebrating the success of her brand new bestseller of The I Zing, America's cultural decline from muffin tops to body shots. So, Laura, what did you think of the discussion with Morris? I think it's right on that the, far left is intimidating the President of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to be about turnout, Bill, as Dick pointed out in 2012. And so whether it was the president earlier this week leaning on and appealing to La Raza, or whether it's President Obama being dictated to by these far-left websites, I think it's going to be a push-pull thing until November. I mean, he's got to motivate the troops because he can't run on his record. So he's got to run on all these other kind of side issues to whip up people into a frenzy on any given number of left-wing issues. And that's the menu in front of him, and he's going to do the best he can.
Is there any comparison to the Tea Party pressure on the Republican Party?
Well, I don't think so, because I think, as surveys have shown, when you go down the list of just stick to economic topics, the Tea Party seems to be much more in line with where most Americans are on a variety of points, whether it's the growth of government or responsibility and spending. And the far left is very active, and as you pointed out, they're very, very much funded by people like Soros and others, and there's targeting, whether it's Fox News or other conservative websites or talk radio. But we have the people, I think, more with us, and people just want more responsibility, personal responsibility, government responsibility, so they can scream and yell as much as they want.
There aren't any shadowy figures that we know about anyway behind the Tea Party pulling those chains. It disturbs me that a guy like Soros and these move-on people and all of that have so much power behind the scenes. It's disturbing. All right, you saw the debate we had with Sally Quinn from the Washington Post last night, and the New York Times playing up the angle of the Norwegian mass killer being a Christian. Now, the Times has stopped that. I don't know whether you noticed that or not. They've stopped doing that since we did our report on Monday. But what say you? I mean, I think it was pretty obvious why the liberal media was playing up the Christian angle.
Look, Bill, you and I can go around and we can butt heads on a lot of issues, but I'm watching your talking points memo last night. I was up cheering, okay, because you laid it out perfectly. There are a lot of people, again, very well funded on the secular left, who don't much like traditional Christianity, don't much like traditional Catholics or evangelical Christians, have no problem smearing them, regardless of what the issue is. Remember when they thought, that, Bill, that the Holocaust shooter might have been motivated by talk radio, or the Gabby Gifford shooter might have had ties to legitimate conservative groups, and there were like rumblings of that early on in the reporting, and then, of course, it turned out none of that was true. I think a lot of these people have waited for an event like this that they could pounce on and say, aha, there's a moral equivalence between Islamic jihadists worldwide and these fringe Christian groups. And it's just, there's nothing to it. I mean, if you really think that Christian conservatives in the United States and elsewhere are a bigger threat to your freedoms and your security than jihadists, then I guess we just lived on different planets. But I think that's where Sally Quinn's coming from.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know about that. I don't think Sally Quinn is in the same category as the New York Times. I think that Sally Quinn basically says, well, if the guy calls himself a Christian, then he's a Christian. So if everybody went by Miss Quinn's rules, then I could say I'm Turkish. Okay, hey, I'm Turkish.
Well, that's
I
one
was
thing
in
we didn't know
Istanbul,
about
and
you.
I like the city, so I'm Turkish. It gets to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I went back and watched one of your debates with Sally, or interviews with Sally, about 1.5 years ago when you were talking about the Fort Hood killing, and finally she did say, okay, he's a Muslim terrorist. But
she never forgot it.
No, but initially, Bill,
she said,
well, it's very complicated.
Right.
Yeah, it's complicated.
It wasn't complicated. He was a Muslim terrorist.
Come on.
Okay,
I mean,
Peter
we know where Sally's coming
and this is a perfect
from.
segue. Peter King, the congressman from New York, is holding another round of Muslim hearings in Washington today. Roll the tape.
Finally, let me note that certain elements of the politically correct media, most egregiously the vacuous ideologues of the New York Times, are shamelessly attempting to exploit the horrific tragedy in Norway past Friday to cause me to refocus these hearings away from Muslim American radicalization. If they even had a semblance of intellectual honesty, the Times and the others would know and admit that there is no equivalency in the threat to our homelands from a deranged gunman and the international terror apparatus of al-Qaeda and its affiliates, such as al-Shabaab, who are recruiting people in this country and have murdered thousands of Americans in the jihad attacks.
All right, so he said pretty much what you said, that this is insane to make the equivalency. But my question to the congressman, if he were here, would be, you're not going to get any coverage of this. Mainstream media is ignoring these hearings. And do we really need to continue to do them? And you say?
Well, I say yes, he's doing something because it's the right thing to do. I mean, obviously, we now know that I think there are 21 people from the United States who have gone to fight the jihad in Somalia. And Bill, what he's saying ties in perfectly with what's happening so tragically and brutally now in Africa, where Somali refugees are being prevented from getting international food rations because of Islamist jihadists within the Somali military that have targeted any type of relief efforts.
Well, let me ask you something about that. Are there
yeah.
any Christians blocking that, or any Norwegians?
No.
No.
No. Yeah, exactly. No. And again, with all due respect to Sally Quinn, it would be nice if the articles and the columns and the highlight and the spotlight was put on those acts that are being carried out in the name of Islamic fidelity against innocent people, many of whom are Muslim.
And many of whom are starving to death.
Hundreds of thousands of children.
Right.
They're dying there because of the efforts of Islamists in Africa. It is horrific what's happening to those children. It's heartbreaking. The photos are heartbreaking. And we have to confront this in the homeland because, look, Peter King's gotten lacerated for what he's done, and no one, as far as I could tell, has proven what he said to be untrue or unworthy of coverage.
All right, Laura, thanks very much.